waiting for everyone to enter this room. I just want to double check with you guys and to get to know you a little bit better. Can you please all let me know in the comments, where do you live? Where are you based? For those of you who don't know me, I'm Alexandra, and my base is in London. So we might end up living in the same area. I'm based in Canton. So let us know in the comments, where do you live? Which country, which city? That would be really great. Amazing. I don't know why I cannot see the comments at all. Blaine, can you read the comments?
Absolutely. We have many people. It's hard to keep up, Alex. We have Rahil in Uxbridge. We have Annette in Hertfordshire. Rosie in Southampton. We have Chris in Hertfordshire. We have Karam in Windsor. David is home remote based, but living in South Leicester, not so far away from me, David. We have somebody based in London, but guys, if you're appearing in the chat as Karan, then please feel free to rename yourself by going to your name and clicking the three dots and just clicking rename, and then I can see your proper name. Christopher from Chile, but moved recently to the UK. Welcome. We have Kinga, who lives in Portishead. We have James from Canterbury. Mirigona, I hope I pronounced that correctly, from Kosovo.
Wow.
Somebody from Stanford. We have somebody in Ealing, Rahil. Welcome, Rahil. Mumbai, India. London. We have Nicole from Philippines, welcome, and Nina from London. So a wide mix, Alex, people from all over the globe.
Fantastic, that's so beautiful. So again, welcome everyone. I want to say that I see some familiar faces and names. I just want to say big thanks for joining me again. And for those of you who are new to my world, I just want to say it's so lovely to meet you all. So can you just give me a thumbs up in the comments if you can see me and hear me okay? That would be really great. As you know already, our today webinar is about how to help our employees to stay focused and productive while they work remotely, while they're working from home. So I'm going to share with you some insights and feedback that we have gathered from our employee well-being platform, which is called Oxygen. In Urban Yoga Lab, this is our go-to place when we want to get some valuable insights that help us to shape strategies and build amazing kind of programs.
Okay, cool.
I think someone is unmute. If you can all mute yourself, that would be great, guys. And I promise at the end of the webinar, you can unmute yourselves and ask me any questions you like. Anyway, our today webinar is going to be interactive. So there will be a link in the comments. So feel free to click at this link now to give your, to register on our vote kind of poll thing. So you can actually vote during the webinar because it's going to be interactive. So please click at the link below and just join the platform so we'll be able to vote later on, okay? So what's my first kind of question? I always ask this question. If you've been in one of my webinars before, you know this already. The first question I always ask is, what is the number one thing that you would like to learn from our today's webinar? What is it, that one single thing that you would like to explore? And it might be more than one thing, right? So feel free to let me know in the comments. And I just want to say at this point that we've received some great questions so far from participants, and Blaine is going to include those questions in the comments, which is great. But because I'm not able to read in the comments, I'm going to ask Blaine to read those questions for me briefly. So throughout the entire
Perfect.
presentation, I'll do my best to respond to all those questions.
Sure. At the moment, Alex, we have Olga who wants to learn more about employee well-being and wellness because it's such a versatile topic. She is looking for some practical tips at home and in their personal life. Laura says that some employees can lack engagement in office working, and when they get to the office, they can lack engagement. Laura is keen to learn lots in terms of things like people and teams. We have Kinga, who is looking at how to motivate teams when they are faced with heavy workloads. Monica asks, how do we keep employees focused and productive working from home? And we have Annette looking to take skills into their next opportunity. Christopher wants to know more information on employee health and well-being and learn more about employees in general, but hybrid employees. We also no, that's the last one at the moment, Alex. But I'll keep you posted.
This is fantastic. Actually, by hearing all those questions, I'm just thinking that uh, this kind of topic of focus and concentration while we work remotely is such a hot topic nowadays, and this is something I get to hear a lot when we interact with clients and partners. But before we get started, sharing with you tips and best practices and some statistics, I just want to share with you a little bit in terms of my background, just for those of you who don't know me. My name is Alexandra. I'm a corporate well-being expert, the founder of Urban Yoga Lab and Oxygen, and I am a former PR executive. 4 years ago, I have been living the job of my dreams. I used to work for an elite PR agency here in London while I experienced burnout. I was at work when this happened. It was a very traumatic experience, but also life changing. And it made me so much passionate about employee well-being and employee mental health. So for the last couple of years, I have traveled to more than 40 countries. I have immersed myself in different cultures all over the world to hack high sustainable performance via evidence-based well-being tools. So I have spent time in Buddhist monasteries, homeless centers. I always wanted to explore this world of mindfulness, well-being, meditation, NLP. So 2 years later, when I came back to London, I had my own kind of mindfulness toolkit, which then my mission became to share this with as many employees as I could. So I could give access to the right tools to employees like I used to be myself, to feel more empowered. So in the next 60 minutes, I'm going to share with you some of my best practices, which represent authentic examples of how we have helped our own clients in the past. Our services have been designed to help employees to radically upgrade their well-being and mental health, and at the same time, to help businesses to explore new ways of becoming an employer of choice. Over the last several years, we have been entrusted by more than 50 big corporates in 6 different markets worldwide, including Royal Bank of Canada, Soho House, and Conrad Hilton Resorts. We have delivered 15,000 programs. We have been part of 7 summits, and we ran 3 mega retreats during pandemic, which was unbelievable. So thanks to the great success we had with big corporates, we now decided to productize our services via our employee well-being platform, which is called Oxygen. So I can tell you a little bit more about Oxygen later on, but just to give you a little bit of overview in terms of what we'll be covering today, right? What to expect. So the very first thing we're going to focus on is what are the main challenges in terms of remote working. right? The second thing we're going to discuss about is digital addiction and how important is to raise awareness about digital addiction, be able to identify different type of syndromes and alarming signs. At the very end, we are going to discuss about best practices. These are practices we have implemented with many of our clients in the past to help them achieve their KPIs, get the most of return of investment, and boost employee engagement. So, in terms of at the very end, Blaine is going to share with us some kind of like he's gonna make some special announcements, and also he would love to give some kind of giveaways to you guys. So for those of you who will stay till the end, we have something special for you. So, in terms of the very first part of our webinar today, is just a little bit to get an understanding, a little bit of context in terms of who you are and what you do within your organizations, right? What are your top goals, top kind of challenges? So you can actually participate in this poll in two ways. The first way is just you take a snapshot of this QR code, and that leads you to the registration kind of form, and then you start voting. The second way is just to copy and paste the link that you will find in the comments. Karen is going to put this link in the comment section, so you can actually, vote while I take you question after question. So before, let me actually share with you my screen, because I would love you to be able to see the poll in real time, right? This is not just a poll for us to see the results; it's a poll for everyone to see and compare. Also, that's also always very interesting. So the very first question is about just about the size of your organization. So how many employees do you have in your business? 0 to 200, 200 to 400, or 400 and more. So if you can just click on the right answer, that would be great. I'm gonna give a little bit time because I'm aware that not everyone registered yet. So I'm not gonna move to the next question. Otherwise, people who will take them a little bit longer to register, they won't be able to vote at all. This is why I'm going to stay a little bit longer here. And the next question is going to be all about what's the number one concern with your business, right? Remote working is great, and it works really well for so many businesses. But when it comes to remote working, what are the key kind of challenges that you have identified within your business? So the question here, right here, is what is your number one concern when it comes to remote working? Lack of focus, lack of productivity, too many distractions, toxic productivity, quiet quitting. So, what is the question that the answer that resonates more with you and reflects the main concern within your business? Amazing. Gonna give you a little bit of time to process this before we move to the next question. It's interesting. So distractions. Okay, and lack of productivity. Interesting. So this seemed to be the two kind of most important concerns. Very, very interesting. Amazing. And thank you so much for sharing, actually, because this is so helpful, guys. Super. So the next question is about what's the greatest challenge in your business at the moment? Is it employee turnover, sick leave, hiring and training replacement costs, company culture, or anything else? If there is something else, and if it's not in this list, feel free to just let us know in the comments. Amazing. Financial well-being, emotional well-being is number one. Wow. Very interesting. This is, these answers, they give me so many great ideas about my future, my upcoming webinars. Um, and again, I want to say how happy I am to see familiar faces and people. I see Chris here, I see Laura. Guys, it's so lovely to see you joining my webinar again. Just it's really great. I see James here, Ida. It's so lovely to see you again. And for those of you that you do have this name Karen, please change your name, rename yourself, so I will be able to identify you if that's okay. I see Rahil. Rahil, it's so lovely to see you again. Um, Guys, it's exciting that I see, familiar faces, and I feel like we build a community where we share knowledge and information, which is so, so valuable. The next question is what's the greatest challenge in your business in general at the moment? In general, right? It doesn't have to do with remote working, just in general. Amazing. And as I said before, your answers helped me so much, give me so many ideas about our upcoming webinars, the report that we're now building internally. It's just so, so helpful. And let me know in the comments if that's helpful for you to also see what are the most important challenges, priorities, and needs for other businesses as well. Amazing. Company culture and employee turnover, those seem to be kind of the top challenges at the moment. Very interesting. Great. Thank you all for sharing, guys. The next is about from 1 to 5. How high is on your priorities to help your employees become more motivated, focused, and productive? From 1 to 5. All right. Interesting. The reason why I'm asking this question is because that many people who join my webinars, in many cases, they join because they want to explore some tips and hacks and practices for themselves and not just for their employees, right? So it's interesting to see, how high this sits in your priorities within your business. This is great. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, guys. So we're gonna move back to the presentation. And I just want to say that, when it comes to lack of focus and productivity, we see that there's a number of challenges, right? I think you will agree with me that part of the reason why, sorry, let me charge my laptop here. I don't know, this charger doesn't work. Just give me 1 second, please. So sorry. So yeah, part of the reason why we see lack of focus and productivity in the workplace nowadays is because of multiple reasons. So we see that there is a cost of living crisis, recession. We see mental health issues. And let's be honest, most of us, we tend to get bombarded every single day with alarming news, which can have an impact on our motivation in general. So my question to you, which is going to lead us to the very first top challenge for today, is how many times do you get interrupted or distracted during your working day? And just let us know in the comments. I'm so curious to find what most of you think when it comes to that.
Hi, sorry if I don't know if I'm the same, but we don't have a chat option.
You don't have a chat option.
No, I can open the sounds. I'm bothering everyone, but I don't have a chat option. I have a reaction option, but not a chat option.
Oh, I see. What about the rest of the people? Because I've seen we received many comments so far, but I wasn't sure if does it work for everyone. I'm not quite sure. Can you let us know in the chat if you can actually? Is it just for one single person that cannot share on the chat, or is it for everyone? Blaine?
We've got many comments. We've got many comments coming in. So it's Nicole and George and Laura. Laura says all the time. Christopher every 10-15 minutes. We have Rahil many times. And again, guys, if you have commented in the chat and your name is Karan, please feel free to change that by
Yes, please
renaming
feel free to
yourself.
rename, guys.
Or let me know who
sorry,
you are.
I just want to say sorry to this one person who said that she cannot comment. As I see, the rest of the people, they are able to comment in the chat. So maybe it's a good idea to try to log out and log in again. Maybe this will be helpful. Blaine, what are the rest of the comments we received?
Okay, so Marigona says, I don't know how many times, but I multitask a lot and, of course, get distracted very much. Chris, thank you. And Annette, thank you for letting us know that it's working for you. Rachel says, lots of times. Bello, lots of times. Nicole, lots. George, every 30 minutes. Laura, all the time. Christopher says, like every 10, 15 minutes. We have somebody, Karan, but it's somebody else, I believe, that's countless numbers of different times. Rahil, many times. We have Annette, from experience, there are less distractions working from home. Chris, don't get too many distractions, mostly because I do not respond where I feel it doesn't suit his other tasks. And David says squirrel, so quite clearly distracted.
That's amazing. Thank you all for sharing, guys, because this is also, it gives us an idea and visibility of how does it feel to every single one of us to getting interrupted and distracted all the time, right? And it's interesting because I was looking at this research the other day, which shows that we get interrupted, we get distracted every 3 minutes. And then there was another research that we were looking at, which shows that we tend to get distracted as employees on an 8 hours kind of working shift. We get to be interrupted every between 6 to 12 times every hour. This is too much, and that's why many of us, we tend to feel drained and tired and exhausted, even just after a couple of hours at work. So I want to say that everyone, oftentimes we feel like to stay focused, we so much need to focus in terms of to create that type of energy and to have the right intention and to have the right space, because all of those things matter to be focused. So there are so many distractions, so many interactions that can actually lead us to higher stress, lower productivity, and really kind of bad mood, right? Imagine if we get, as you said earlier before, guys, constantly distracted, or we are in this mode of mindlessly multitasking. This actually has been proven by scientists that increase the production of the stress hormone, which is cortisol, and increases the production of fight or flight hormone, which is our adrenaline. So every single time we get distracted and we get interrupted, there is one thing that we're losing, and this is impulse control. And if you think a little bit about it, right? Every single time we receive a text message, right? We wonder, we ask ourselves, okay, how do I respond to this? Or do I respond or ignore it? We get to receive an email, we start wondering, okay, how do I file this email? We might have our partner entering the room while we work from home, and we're thinking like, okay, should I take a break, or it's not the right time? All those kind of small decisions take as much energy as the big decisions. And this is when we get all this kind of decision overload. Even after a short period of time that we get distracted non-stop, we tend to feel disoriented. We tend to feel like drained, right? So trying to figure it out what we need to pay attention to and what not, what we need to ignore and what not, can be really exhausting. So being constantly distracted, it has so many negative implications when it comes to our productivity levels. And that takes us to the next challenge, which is all about meetings. And I know that even before pandemic, many employees, I used to talk with so many employees that they used to tell me share with me some amazing jokes about the number of meetings they tend to have on a weekly basis. Now that many of us, we are like hybrid employees, the number of meetings is even higher and higher and higher. So I really want to ask you guys, how many meetings do you have per day? Like on average, right? Just let us know. At least 3. I see here Wally said at least 3. Bello, 2 per day at the least. Christopher, 4 to 5. Christopher, I used to have 4 to 5 meetings every day 4 years ago, up until I realized that was not helpful for me to be as focused as I needed. 2 to 3. 5 per day, Annette. Wow, this this is too much. This is a lot. Unbelievable. So I see that on average is like between 3 to 4 meetings, right? And many people think that having a lot of meetings is really good because it helps us and leads to more effective communication. However, there is more and more research that now shows that we actually the time we spend in meetings, it gets longer and longer, and this has such a direct negative impact on our productivity levels. So the conclusions of many research and studies that we've looked at shows that meetings can actually hijack the most productive hours of our day. So employees, and in many cases I discuss with employees who work for our clients about the number of meetings they get to have. And most of them tell me that they feel like on every meeting, they feel like they don't have enough to report because they didn't have enough time to formulate their thoughts and what they're going to share. So many times having all those back-to-back meetings or multiple meetings on a daily basis, it can actually reduce focus, increase the risk of making mistakes, and can even lead to burnout. So I was looking at this research conducted by Dr. Miller the other day. He is a neuroscientist in the University of Massachusetts who talked about something that is called the switch cost. He actually claims that every single time we switch our attention, our focus from one thing to another, our brain stumbles a bit, and it requires 15 to 22 minutes to go back to where it was before it got distracted. So asking the brain to shift attention from one activity to another causes our prefrontal cortex to burn up a substance which is called glucose, oxygenated glucose. And this is exactly the substance we need to stay on task. It has been proven that when we actually move from this kind of continual shifting and kind of rapid shifting from one task to another, what happens is that we burn up this kind of substance so quickly that then we tend to feel really, really exhausted, even if after a short period of time. So this kind of oxygenated glucose, it's important to not burn it quickly by changing and shifting our attention all the time, right? So another thing that I want to mention about the meetings is that we really need to be in our zone. We need to be able to perform at our optimal level. And this is why I'm such a big believer of having no meeting days, at least once every week. We're going to discuss about this a little bit later. So in terms of the switch cost, as we said, it has it can create this kind of negative impact in terms of how stressed, edgy, nervous we feel throughout the entire day. Here you see our research conducted by Microsoft, which shows what happens. The top row is brains that they actually were in this process of back-to-back and multiple meetings throughout the day, which shows that they have actually reached that level of stress. They experience a build-up of stress. The lower row are people who didn't have any meeting throughout the entire day, so their brains are steady and experience coolness. And that leads us to the next question, which is a funny one, because as my mentor always tells me, it's important to not take ourselves too seriously all the time, guys. I hope you will agree with me. It's nice to have some fun from time to time. And this leads us to our next question, which is like, do you carry your phone to the toilet? And for those of you who are brave enough, please share in the comments. And I will say that I used to be one of those people, and I was having this conversation with my best friend the other day, who said to me that only this year she just by mistake accidentally threw her phone in the loo twice. So if you're one of the people who carry your phone to the toilet, there's nothing wrong about it. Many of us actually do it. Yes, play a game to unwind from last occasionally. Yes, of course. I've lost a few too, George. Yes, not at work. All right, that's great, guys. Thank you so much for sharing. That's really, really great. So why I'm asking this question? Because many of us, we are not aware of the signs of digital addiction. And what I just asked about, carrying the phone to the toilet is one of the top signs of digital addiction. It means that either we struggle with digital addiction, either we are at risk, we are at serious risk. So this is why I'm such a strong believer of building awareness, especially among, our junior employees, because the younger generations are even more vulnerable to this kind of addiction. So it's interesting because when we talk about addiction, it's because of the way we've conditioned ourselves. I was checking this kind of study that was presented on Wall Street Journal the other day, which shows that we get bombarded on a daily basis. On average, we get bombarded with 63 notifications per day. We get to receive on average 90 emails, and we send 40. Another research shows that 71% of daily social media users in the UK experience symptoms of withdrawal. Same symptoms like a drug addict. It's a real addiction. And when I say withdrawal symptoms, I'm talking about nervousness, about this feeling of worry, about this kind of feeling of stress or agitation, or even when we get to be reactive instead of responsive in certain situations. So this is all about digital addiction, and being digitally addicted actually makes you less rational, because it does something very important. It changes the chemical makeup of our brain and actually causes decrease in white matter of our brain areas that are associated with decision making, problem solving, and emotional processing. So, speaking of awareness and syndrome, how do we help our employees to be more focused, concentrated, and productive? It's by raising awareness of the main digital addiction syndromes. So they're able to identify those signs early enough, and then they're able to take preventative measures so they can be proactive about it. David, I think it's Rachel said, I think it's more because I don't want colleagues to think I'm not working, if that makes sense. I know we're all allowed breaks, but this is something I stress about working remotely. Thank you for sharing, Rachel. I've never thought of that being a reason why someone would carry their phone to the toilet. That's great, Blaine. Thanks for sharing as well. So in terms of the syndrome, right? the syndromes, the different syndromes, how do we raise awareness? First of all, as an organization, as HR executives, as HR leaders, we need to help our employees to be able to tell whether they are at risk of a digital addiction or not. So the very first syndrome that I see, and it's a very common syndrome among employees who work remotely, is Zoom fatigue. Zoom fatigue is when we experience feelings of tiredness, worry, or burnout when we tend to overuse platforms like Zoom, right? The next syndrome is the phantom notification syndrome. This has been revealed by a research that can be conducted by two different universities in the UK, in the US, Indiana University and Purdue University, where actually 89% of students were surveyed, and it seems like they experience with, they struggle with phantom phone notification syndrome. What is this syndrome? It's when we feel like our phone is vibrating or ringing, but this is not true. Then we go and check and we're like, oh, actually, it's not real. So it's this kind of thing that actually on a subconscious level makes us upset, especially when we realize that what we thought was not real, that we never received a message, we've never had a missed call or anything like that. So research shows that this syndrome can lead to agitation, anxiety, and even depression. Guys. So honestly, it's so important to start talking more about those syndromes and make sure that we learn new ways of how to take care of our well-being. The next syndrome, of course, is fear of missing out. This is according to a study that shows that 67% of people are afraid that they are going to miss on updates if they are not constantly checking their newsfeed. Then last kind of syndrome I wanted to share with you, and of course there are so many other, but I wanted to focus on the four more important today, is the fear of missing out. So it's when we have this fear or anxiety of being disconnected from, we're not connected to the internet, or we got stolen our device, or we lost our phone. And then we have this kind of fear, almost kind of panic. We get panicked because we feel like we don't get access to internet. And studies shows that internet addicts may experience depression again, mood swings, and anxiety when they stop using the internet. So in Urban Yoga Lab, what we do to help our clients to raise awareness is sharing this information via guidebooks, tip sheets, via one-pagers, posters, do everything we can to raise awareness. And even, those sketches, they do send a message, right? They do help us better understand where we get to be compulsive when it comes to our relationship with technology, isn't it? So all those things help. And that leads us to the next question. I want to ask you all, what type of initiatives, practices, ideas you have implemented within your business to help your employees stay focused? Can be related to digital addiction or just in general, right? To help them be more focused and concentrated. Can you please let us know in the comments? It can be anything, right? It can be a workshop, a webinar, it can be a talk, it can be anything at all. Like Nina said, we have focus Thursdays, no meetings or Slack pings allowed. Amazing! I love this idea, focus Thursdays. Wow, I love it. Picnic day, George Patera's picnic day. I love the picnic day, and it's great for team bonding as well. Iman said physical activities, some events. Physical activities help as well, big time. Chris Oak said, I turned all of mine off. Okay, very true. Amazing, guys. It's so great that you're all sharing via the comments. It's just amazing to see, all this interaction. Laura said team building days, but only once a quarter. Interesting, because then there is another question: how very often are we supposed to organize something for our employees to help them be focused, productive, energized? Right? That's a very good question, actually. Moving email responses to the 321 approach 3 times a day for 21 minutes, reduce inbox emails to 0. Wow. When I work for thank you so much for sharing, Chris. This is so interesting. Louise said, when I worked for the NHS and Trace, we had a mental well-being hour once a month. So how did you spend this one well-being hour, Louise? I'm really curious if you can let us know in the comments. So interesting, guys, to read your own ideas and your own things that you actually organize within your business. This is really great. So that takes us to the next part of the presentation, which is all about the practices. And if you know one thing about me, is that I am one of the biggest fans of digital detox. And for those of you who don't who have never heard about the digital detox before, this is about just giving up our devices from a brief period of time. Or it can be disconnecting from our social media platforms for a brief or longer period of time. Depends, right? But both are considered to be kind of digital detox practices. So my suggestion as a best practice is to invite a digital detox coach to run a program within your business in order to help your employees to learn how to practice digital detox all their day-to-day lives. Because digital detox, it has been proven scientifically that helps employees to improve relationships, reduce stress, increase attention span, boost productivity, and enhance creativity. So all the benefits of digital detox in one single page here. So now, how do we help? If those are the benefits, how do we help our employees to be consistent about the digital detox and keep themselves accountable? Because this is the hardest part, isn't it? One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about digital detox was because 4 years ago, I participated in a festival. Some of you might know this festival. It is called Burning Man. And in this festival, you're not allowed to have access to internet. So there is no internet. It's just in the middle of the desert. So I remember the very first day, I was feeling so nervous and so stressed, and I had all the withdrawal symptoms. By the end of this 7 days time, I can tell you that this was one of the most eye-opening, healing, cathartic experiences of my life. Just being disconnected, it makes such a huge difference. So if we want to help our employees to do a mini digital detox, it can last from an hour to a weekend or all the way up to a week, depends, right? So it's really important to start with awareness again. So a coach, at least that's how we run it, we run this program for our clients, is that our digital detox coach encourages employees to use a timer to track the recreational use of technology on a daily basis. And there are plenty of tools they can use. We have included them in the next page that the employees can actually track how much time they're using on technology recreationally. The second thing is that the expert invites the people to actually share what are the main challenges they experience. So they are able to identify the habitual pattern. So they are able to identify their triggers. So they're better able to see what are the main obstacles they need to overcome when it comes to digital well-being. And the last thing they do is with the coach together, they create a plan of action. So that works as a workshop. So we have 20 employees, and then the coach asks each employee to find their accountability buddy and set a plan of action. A plan of action can be this weekend, it will be my digital detox weekend. And we are going to keep each other accountable, right? As simple as that. We start with small steps. So speaking of small steps, it's so important to, and these are many tools that you can share with your employees. We'll share those slides with you, that they can actually track how much time they spend on which platforms, which is so helpful. The next step is a mini digital detox. As I said before, we don't need to invite our employees to take a full day, in the very beginning. It's just an hour. And the next thing is to, with the help of a coach, to get access to some tips. Some tips that they can be game changers when it comes to keeping themselves accountable. So the very first thing that I've seen that works really well is that many employees feel hesitant to take a mini digital detox because they feel like if they do, their families and the family and friends, they will be wondering why on earth they are online. They will start being really worried about them, why they're not online as they always do. So one of the tips that is a game changer, and our expert recommends employees to do, is to announce publicly on their social media that from that day to that day, from that time to that time, I will be offline because it is good for my well-being. And if you need me and it's urgent, you can give me a call, or you can wait until Monday. Now, this helps because A, nobody is worried about them, right? And that makes them feel relaxed. And B, helps them to keep themselves virtually accountable. What do I mean by that? When we do announce online that we'll be offline for a certain period of time, when we do not keep our promise and we go online, people see and they realize that we didn't keep our promise to ourselves. So that works like an extra motivation, right? Let's put it this way. So this is one of the plenty of the tips our digital detox coach shares with employees to help them to do a mini digital detox. And then this mini digital detox can actually help them to be more productive, to sleep better, to unplug after and unwind that after a really busy day at work, right? So another thing we recommend is to have those tech-free zones and tech-free hours. So it's so important to make our bedroom a tech-free zone because checking our phone first thing in the morning when we wake up is the worst thing we can do when it comes to our motivation throughout the entire day. Because our brain hasn't been built to switch from sleep to wide awake instantly. So the light that comes from the phone, when we get exposed to it first thing in the morning or just before we go to bed, what it does is that increases our cortisol levels. As we said before, it's a stress hormone. So how we can actually help ourselves to stay accountable when it comes to that is by having a proper alarm clock, which is the classic one, right? And we set the charging station outside the room so we don't get to be tempted first thing in the morning when we wake up to check our phone. Or we can also, do the tech-free hour where we spend, and that's what our coach recommends to employees, to spend 1 hour in the morning during the breakfast, or 1 hour is going to be the dinner time where the whole family spends some quality time together with no digital devices around. So this is like kind of the rule. There are so many tips, right, that I would love to share with you, but I'm a little bit kind of conscious of the time. But here we've included all the tools that you can share with your employees that they can actually help them to stick to their digital detox plan. So the last tip is all about to try to make it difficult, right? And this is inspired by the book Atomic Habits of James Clear. You might know this book already. So James Clear says that if we want to establish a new habit, we need to make it difficult for ourselves. Like, we really need to make it a little bit harder to be tempted. So, because you know how it works, right? The thing ding, we pick up Facebook. The thing ding, we pick up Instagram. It's like we live our lives on autopilot, right? So this is why we do recommend our digital detox programs to help your employees to learn how to do simple things that can give their lives back. So one of the things, for example, is to turn off notifications and the alerts on their phone while they are doing some kind of deep work, right? Um, and then we've shared some other applications that you can suggest your employees to use to take a digital detox. I know it sounds ironic to use applications in order to disconnect from technology, right? There is an irony about it, but it's true. It can help for real. And also in terms of postponing our impulsivity, right? If you do feel like you struggle, if your employees after this program, after the one pages and all the information, they still struggle, another thing you can recommend them is to disable the applications, disable all the applications from their phone. I know it sounds like radical, but it helps because postpones the impulsivity, and it helps because worst case scenario, if we will need to an application for some important reason on our phone, we can re-download it. It's not a big issue. But because we make it harder for ourselves, we get less and less kind of possibilities to be tempted, right? There was another practice that I wanted to share with you, which is to help your employees the moments they get distracted, at the moments they get interrupted, to help them learn how to bring themselves back to center. And starts with breathing, because when our breathing is not centered, we are not centered, right? So what we do in Urban Yoga Lab is delivering a series of workshops, breathing workshops that help employees to refocus every single time they get distracted. And those type of mindfulness tools help them to declutter their thoughts, help them to minimize all the unwanted distractions, and they can be like a game changer when it comes to their overall well-being. And of course, as I said before, limiting the number of meetings that you have on a weekly basis. My recommendation is to have one day every week that is a meeting-free day. There is research which shows that 3 meeting-free days is even better, but I know that this is not doable for so many businesses. So one tech-free day, I feel it's feasible, and I've seen that before. Many of our clients implemented this idea, and by encouraging their employees to replace all these compulsory gatherings with communication at a convenient pace, and to use all those kind of project management tools to keep each other in the loop, right? So those are all the practices I wanted to share with you, right? So mindfulness, meeting-free days, digital detox, all those things can help your employees to develop leisure focus. Do you have any questions? Any questions, anyone? Okay. Annette said, teaching our children is really hard, especially teenagers. So it's really good to have these practical tips. I'm so glad to hear this, Annette. I can only imagine how hard it is for teenagers. That everyone refrains from using their phone. Annette, this is such a great idea about the charity day, actually. Guys, you've shared some amazing escape rooms are fantastic. You shared some amazing ideas here in the comments. I'll go in and take a look later. Oh my God, amazing ideas. I'm just conscious of the time. So I just wanted to say that all these insights we've shared with you come thanks to our employee well-being platform, which is called Oxygen, is our one-stop employee well-being shop, our sophisticated ecosystem of services. and it provides a variety of well-being and mental health support for your team. So I'm not going to walk you through how does it work. There is a link that you can click later and see how does it work. But I just want to invite Blaine to share some kind of special announcements.
Thank you, Alex. For the last 2 minutes, guys, I am conscious of time. So I noticed that there are a few people still signed in under the name of Karan. Just so that we can identify who you are, if you could leave your name in the chat, that would be brilliant, and I can send bonus content out to you. I've also posted my LinkedIn profile into the chat, so please do connect with me, and I can share the content in this way. But a few things that I wanted to focus on was that we're providing a 20% discount until the end of next week on Oxygen, our wellbeing platform. We are also providing a Zen Warrior program, which is an 8-week transformational employee wellbeing mentorship. And anybody that wants more details about that, please do contact me. But I am also giving away a complimentary cost of living consultation call. I know how much this issue is on the forefront of organisations' minds at the moment, so please do reach out to me if that's of benefit to you and your colleagues. We are also providing free discovery calls next week and the week after for anybody that wants to look at their wellbeing program going into 2023. So whether it's an established program or you want a complete overhaul, please do reach out to us. We're also in the middle of refreshing our HR wellbeing forum, which is for HR and people leaders only. So it's not going to be bombarded by consultants, salespeople, things like that. So if you do want an invite, please do get in contact with me on my LinkedIn profile, and I can invite you to this. But finally, as part of my LinkedIn, I also give away free content packs. Most recently, as part of November, this has been for prostate cancer awareness and mental health, two incredibly important topics any time of the year, but no more so than this month. So if you want that free content, please do get in touch. My LinkedIn is in the comments, and I can't wait to hear from you guys. Thanks, Alex.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Blaine. I also want to make a special announcement. On the 27th of January, we're going to organize our first in-person event in collaboration with All Brights. Some of you know this females-only members club here in London. So we organize this for our clients. It's going to be a special event, panel discussion and networking. For those of you, it's just for our clients, but we are going to have a limited number of tickets for some members of our network. So if you want to get your ticket for this specific event, we're so excited about it. Of course, feel free to let me know via LinkedIn or via email. My email address is in the comments below. At this point, I just want to say big thanks for your time today. Apologies for the issue with the name error. We had this kind of tech issue today. I'm so sorry about that. But I really thank you so much for sharing your ideas, guys. That was so helpful and so eye-opening for me. I'm in this industry since 2020, and of course I'm still learning, and by just being in the same virtual room with you, I learned so much today. So thank you so much for being part of this webinar. I hope it was helpful. I hope you got some value. Thank you, James. Thank you, Wally. Amazing. Thank you, George. Guys, so great to meet you all. So great to see you again. So many of you. Lara, Christopher, Marigona, thank you. Nina, Queen Nicole, Lara, Marigona, amazing. Thank you, guys. Yes, I'm going to have another webinar early next year, and I look forward to it. So we will keep you posted 100%. And for anything you need in terms of, awareness packs or a free discovery call, anything at all, just reach out to us. We're always happy to help and always here to have this kind of conversation with you and start the dialogue. That's for us, this is the most important. So for those of you who want to stay longer, if you have any questions or there's something that you would like to discuss, I'm more than happy. For